What I want to focus on is what we've learned from a survey that we've done of salespeople who've used this program for some time, what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, what direction they would like to see, where they think we could provide more support or make these presentations even better. So one of the things that we learned from that is shorter presentations with less information can be more effective, and also what parts of the presentations salespeople have found from their experience that was the most useful and effective. We've also done focus groups with sales teams and gone out on sales calls, as well as just talk to businesses ourselves, interviewing them about the kind of information they believe would be useful. So one of the things we learned is just making this quicker, simpler to create a presentation. This page is very mobile friendly now. Pretty much on a day-to-day basis, what you would want to do or need to do with the program, you can do from this search field. So if you're simply making a presentation to a local business, just type in the name of the business here. You can put in the specific business name, or you could put in a category, such as insurance. If I type in insurance, what I'm going to get first is business types that match that keyword. So here I have start or change insurance agency. So in that survey that we're doing of your audience, your readers, we're asking the household where they plan to shop in the next 12 months, what kinds of businesses they plan to shop at, make purchases at. We have between 500 to 600 different business types, so it's quite a long list. So keyword here is probably the best place to find what you're looking for, and we'll match it, look through those 600 to find anything that relates to insurance agency. Clicking over here, you will have the ability to map insurance agencies in your sales territory. So we'll just pull up Google Maps. You'll be able to look through that list of local insurance agencies and create a presentation. If you have an existing account, you've already created a presentation in the past, or we've imported a list for you, the name of that insurance company will appear here. Most likely you've already made a presentation for those. Other accounts are the ones that belong to other salespeople. And then a useful list here is business search results. We're actually using Google Maps to pull up a list of local insurance agencies to which you can create a presentation. So simply clicking over here, you'll be able to create a presentation for any of these agencies. So I'll just go ahead and do that now. So I clicked on creating a presentation. I'm going to select the one-page presentation. I said after you've done this a few times, creating a presentation, especially a short one, typically takes less than a minute. And so I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because we have some other videos and support materials that go a little bit more in depth on creating presentations. But today I want to show two versions of the presentation. The shortest possible presentation that can work and be effective, a presentation that we've presented ourselves and found is effective, and then one that adds one more piece of information to it that's useful on some sales calls. So I'm not necessarily going to go through every single item today, but I will show you some videos where you can go get more detail on that. All right, so Farmers Insurance, I'm creating a presentation specifically for this insurance agency. I want to select the business type. Again, just typing in the keyword. I select Start or Change Insurance Agency, and I'll talk to why we chose Start or Change here in a moment. For some presentation types, we have example presentations. So if this comes up, you click yes, it's going to pre-populate the page for you. And we also have supporting videos for any of those example presentations. So if you're new to this tool, the AdSeller program, that's a great resource. But for today, I'll click on no. All right, so I'm getting a little bit of a preview. 12.8% of the households we reach each week plan to start or change their insurance agencies in the next 12 months. So I want to apply that 12.8% to one of my audiences. I can choose the primary publication. I could choose my newspaper plus the shopper, for example, or the weekly or daily publication plus your unduplicated reach with digital. And I'm going to select that today. So I have web plus print. I'm going to select an ad package here. This is an option. This is not required in the final presentation. You don't necessarily need to include an ad package. You may have ones listed if there's some that are preset for you, or you can enter a custom ad campaign. Most likely it's going to be a custom one because there's many options for ads. So you can name that package. You can put in a campaign cost, say $12,000 over 52 weeks. And then you'll see how many customers you need to break even. So that's an option on the page. What we've learned is that many salespeople are choosing not to include that in their first presentation or the first time they talk to a business, because mostly what they want to do is qualify that business, present the opportunity, see if they're interested in talking further about an ad campaign. So we do now have an option just to leave that off entirely. You can click here, hide campaign details on presentation, and leave that section off. So next is just products and services. So I selected the primary business type, insurance agencies, and now this list of products and services is going to give me the most commonly selected products that insurance agency sell, or any insurance agency sells. So this is just based on what other salespeople have done over the years. There's well over 100,000 presentations made using the AdSeller program. So we have a lot of information. We know what salespeople have done. Most often, when they're making a presentation to an insurance agency, they're including auto insurance, number one, and then down the list, life insurance, etc. So I would say in a shorter presentation, you could probably include as many as you want. We found that anywhere from 1, 5 or 6 is probably optimal. You don't necessarily need to overwhelm them with options. There's a shorter list can be more effective. So the way to think about selecting that list is, what is this business most likely going to be interested in learning more about? Where would that business look for opportunities for growth, getting new business in the next year? So it could even be something they're not currently selling. Or where do you think that business would be most likely to advertise, or what would you recommend that business advertise to attract new clients or customers? Not everything's going to appear in the most commonly selected, so be sure to look at this list if you think something's missing. You can again use a keyword search, or you can simply expand the categories and see the entire list. So I'll click Finish there. So really on this presentation, all I have is the primary business type. I'm going to skip this part, and I'm going to include products and services. And for this presentation, this first time talking to the business, I'm going to leave off the media, the ROI, and add readership notes. You can add notes to the page if you wish, but for now I'm just going to create a very simple presentation that has 2 sections. So what we've learned from the focus groups of salespeople and the surveys about what can be, what you wanted to see more of, or how you wanted to be using this presentations, is putting more emphasis on that initial appointment, that first conversation that you have with the business. Salespeople were telling us really where they could use more help is just getting in the door, getting that appointment in the first place, starting that conversation with the business, getting them interested in just talking to you, getting them interested in advertising. And so this presentation, this shorter version, can be very effective for that. So this page, typically, I'd say most of our clients are printing off this page and presenting it as a printed page. We do have an option for presenting on a mobile device, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet. and you can launch here the mobile presentation. And I'll be showing that today because it presents better on a screen. But to print, up here in the right corner, just click on print, and you're going to be able to print this out on a simple one page. There's plenty of white space that can be utilized for writing in a note if you want, or putting on a business card, etc. These pages can also be very effective if you just want to leave it behind if you're not actually able to meet with the decision maker that day. Right, so before I get started into getting into detail, just want to show there's a lot of numbers on this page. The purpose of this is not necessarily to go through every single number, every single line on the presentation. Think of it more as you're helping this business make a more informed decision about advertising. And I would say that there's two key points here. One is simply the number of households that you're reaching who plan to start or change insurance agencies in the next 12 months. So if based on a 37,500 household reach, 6,188 will be starting or changing their insurance agencies. So this is really the most important number right here, this 6,188. If you present that, you're sharing with this business the opportunity that exists with the households you are reaching every week. And then further going into identifying opportunities for growth. A lot of times when I've shared this with a business, I just let them look at this list. We've identified some categories where our readers, what they plan to buy in the next 12 months. Take a look at this list and where do you see opportunities? Where would you like to get a greater share of our readers plan shopping, plan spending? And they'll often just, tell you right away where their interest is. So just with that, a very simple way of presenting this information without necessarily, going into a lot of detail. But I'm going to go directly into the mobile presentation. Okay, so in the mobile presentation, this same talking points will work whether you're using the printed page or mobile, but this should just display a little bit better. Okay, so one way of introducing this information is simply to talk about where this information came from. So Pulse Research, did a survey of newspaper readers to find out what they plan to buy in the next 12 months. Our readers participated in this study. So this really reflects what the households we're reaching, every day, every week, plan to do in the next year. And we ask the kinds of questions you would ask if you had an opportunity to do a survey of those households. Specifically, do they plan to start using an insurance agency? Do they plan to change insurance agencies? And then what, products and services are they interested in buying? If the business asks anything about the research, I would say the majority of the time, all they really want to know is it a survey of your market, all households in the market, or is it a survey of your readership? So it is a survey of your readership. This is representing the households you're reaching, not the entire market. So what you found from the research, 16.5% of the households we're reaching every week plan to start or change their insurance agencies in the next 12 months. So this is not households who are currently using insurance agencies. These are ones who specifically said they're either starting for the first time, or changing their insurance agency. So this is opportunity, for any agencies to get new clients. So since our fictional paper here, the Oxdown Gazette, and our website, the unique reach, local households, is 37,500. 16.5% of them, that's 6,188 households who will be starting an insurance agency in the next 12 months. So this is the opportunity for this business. When we've taken this out to businesses to see if this is a meaningful number, the businesses do say this is meaningful for two reasons. One is, often the household reach, of course, is greater than what they suspected. but more specifically that you're able to deliver more potential clients, more potential customers than they realized was possible. Also, these are households that they possibly are currently missing with whatever existing ad campaign or marketing campaign they're doing. So you're able to provide them, unique households they're currently missing with their advertising campaign. So a lot of opportunity here. What salespeople are telling us again in those focus groups is this is the number that they wanted to stress and put less emphasis on the actual spending amount. So even though these numbers will add up, this is usually not a number that's challenged by the business. They do believe in that number. A lot of times, if they have their own research, these percentages end up being consistent with their own internal research. Based on the customer value household spending of just $1,000 over the next 12 months, that would mean over $6 million in dollars in opportunity by those households. So this is the number that some salespeople were saying like that they wanted to put less emphasis on because a lot of times this number just seemed too big, unrealistic, or you're potentially setting an expectation that's too high for this business. So again, just stressing this number, maybe not as much emphasis here, but just looking at it as a projection. If these households spend $1,000 a year, that would be over $6 million in potential spending. A 1% share, or every 1% share that you're able to get, is $61,000. One nice thing about the web version is that you can click here on this pencil and edit any of this information. For example, you can change the 1% to 5% and see what that opportunity looks like. If you want to change the audience here, clicking on this, you're going to get that list of existing audiences that's available to you. So if they just wanted to look at print, for example, you could change it right here and show them some new numbers. It is not possible to combine these audiences because if you were to select more than one and combine them, there would be some duplication. But we can list as many audience options as you'd like. So any combination that you have for your publication, we should have listed here, or just ask and we can add it for you. So then going into the next page, identifying opportunities for growth. This is actually from a presentation that I did to for an insurance agency about 6 weeks ago. They liked the first part of the presentation. They did see the unique opportunity, were interested in learning more. But then the next question that they asked was, how can we best connect with this audience, with these readers, based on what's important to us now? So in that conversation, what he identified was life insurance. For him, auto insurance was not as profitable as it used to be, not necessarily where he wanted to get new customers. So what we talked about was where he would like to see more customers, where he would like to see more growth, and he identified life insurance. So he was asking, do you have any information about life insurance? So the good news is that we do. We asked start or change life insurance. In the next 12 months, 9.1% of the households we're reaching, our readership does plan to start life insurance. That's over 3,400 households. So just in that one category for that one product, there's plenty of opportunity to be of interest to this business. And then we went into talking about potential ad campaigns. So this is the shorter version of the presentation. And I'm just going to go back here to the presentation itself. So once you get to the opportunity, you've identified where their specific interest is, start that conversation about an ad campaign. Really the job of this presentation is done. You don't necessarily need to use the AdSeller after that. You can set up another appointment to come back to that business and talk about your recommended ad campaign, putting together something specifically for life insurance. So as I said, the presentation has done its job, and from what salespeople were telling us, that's how they want to be using these presentations the majority of the time. This kind of presentation would work, great on a drop-in call because you can really make this presentation very quickly within, probably 5 to 10 minutes. Just get their interest, show them the opportunity, and then set up a time to come back and go more in depth about the ad campaign. So I'm going to close that. But now I'm going to go here to this first line. Over here to the right, you can click on this and you have some different options. I just want to cover quickly. You can edit the presentation. You can mark as presented, passed, or sold to record activity. But I'm just going to go into editing this presentation. I'm going to unclick the campaign details and add this back in. Maybe lower this a little bit. So I'm doing an ad campaign for $10,000 over 52 weeks for an insurance agency. I'm applying it to this audience. And that looks good. And I just click Update Presentation. And then I have a longer presentation. Still works as a one-page presentation, but I'll go into the mobile view here and go to the final page. So if maybe this is appropriate for talking to this particular business, you do have an ad campaign or a recommended ad campaign, maybe an ad package that you're presenting that day. This is a way of breaking down in terms of the number of customers they would need to get in order to cover the cost of that ad campaign. So the good news for this business, they only need to get 10. So that's less than 1 per month, 1 new client per month, buying life insurance, for example. They would be able to cover the cost of this ad campaign. So the question for this business would be, with a consistent ad campaign, with this ad package that we put together, where you're advertising every week in, both in print and online, do you think you would get at least, 1 new client per month? Is that realistic? And we base that 10 on the customer spending of $1,000, household spending of $1,000 over that first year. We took a $10,000 ad campaign, divided by the 1,000 is just 10. And so that works out, to 10 customers over that 52 weeks. So most of the time, the business, thinks that's a realistic minimum number. If they have any, doubt, you can edit it here if you're presenting on a mobile device and ask them what number they think is realistic. Oops. So clicking here, if they say, well, I think maybe 1 every 2 months, you could also ask them, if 52-week campaign, 6 customers, but then we just change the math here and change it to a $6,000 ad campaign, $500 per month, and maybe that's more appropriate, for their budget. Or you could work backwards and ask them, what they do want to budget, if they're able to give you a number, and then also just determine how many customers they would need in order to pay for that ad campaign. When you create the presentation for a business, you are able to set this number to be, any number you would like. So here's $1,000, but if something's more appropriate for this business, you can change it. A good question to ask is, especially for an insurance agency, is who's your most valuable customer? You said you wanted to get more life insurance customers. What is the average household spending for that, value of that over a year? Once they get into a specific product or service or valuable customers, a lot of times this number will be much larger. So that's the second part of the presentation. If that's useful, or relevant in that presentation. So a couple other points here to cover very quickly is these teasers. The idea with the teaser is just to kind of give you a script, maybe some talking points to use for getting the appointment. This could be shared either by voicemail or by email. This is going to be based on one of your larger audiences here by default, but you can change that. So here the idea is putting this in an email, putting it, making a phone call and saying, the households we're reaching every week, we've identified there's about 6,000 that plan to use insurance agencies, or you can put it in terms of plan to start or change insurance agencies. And I have some additional ideas about how you can get your share of our readers' planned spending. So finally, since this is just basically kind of an introduction to a new way of using these tools, I'm not going to go into much detail here about using accounts or reporting, but I do want to show you quickly here on prospects. We do list those 500 to 600 business types that I mentioned. We are ranking those in order of results that their salespeople have gotten over the years in terms of close ratio, average sale, and sell rank. So you can use this list of identifying, maybe some categories where there's some opportunity in your sales territory. So clicking on that, we're just going to do a keyword search using Google Maps, and then it will map, implant specialist, in your market, your sales territory. And then from here, you can also create presentations, teasers, add it as an account to your account list without creating a presentation, create the presentation, of course. And also in the next couple of weeks, we're also going to add the ability to add a flyer. And in conclusion for today, I'm just going to click on help here. Do give us a call or email us if we can support you in any way. At pulseresearch.com, you can also get our email address. There's links to that. If you don't yet have an account, we can definitely set one up for you today. I do want to go over here to examples. So here under help and examples, if this is your first time using the program, or if you haven't seen this resource yet, I would suggest taking a look at 1 to 2 of these very short webinars. These are only 10 minutes. This is John Marling doing a presentation. Specifically, what would he include in a presentation for new vehicle dealerships, and what would he say when he's presenting to a car dealership? What would he say if he was presenting to a lumber yard, etc.? So those are useful for a number of reasons. One, it's somebody else going through the sales presentation, a different style of using the information on a sales call. They're also very specific to that business category, so it will show you, a couple of different approaches. All right, so that's about a half hour. So that covers everything I was, hoping to get into today. Again, if you have any questions, we're available to answer those. If anybody has a sales team, we're always available to do webinars specifically for your sales team. If you want to go into more in depth about these presentations themselves. So for now, if you do have any questions, let me know again in the GoToWebinar control panel, and I'd be happy to answer those. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any questions at this time. So thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.